What's up, everybody? This is Pastor D. It was Woody Allen who said once upon a time, "I'm not afraid of death. I just don't want to be there when it happens." Death, as you know, is unavoidable, and may arrive even sooner than we dread. We are, as the old song say, we are but a toss in the ocean, a vapor in the rain. We are but a wave tossed in the ocean, a vapor in the rain. But the truth of the matter is, the more we deny the certainty of death, the more we will make decisions that are shallow and incomplete. No one, and I mean it, no one really wants to contemplate their own death. Because, quite frankly, for me, it's a depressing reflection. But be that as it may, reflecting on death is a terrific way to investigate our priorities and our routines. So we welcome you to the remedy as we discuss today and death, the certainty of old age, sickness, death, and separation from our loved ones. With this, welcome to the remedy. So, welcome, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello.
How you guys doing today?
Good
Morning,
Good.
doing good.
Everybody's looking really, really nice, especially Jimmy. I love the hairdo. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's my free day.
Yes, he woke up this morning. He went, rah!
Loving it.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. I mean, we're going to talk about death, so I'm feeling great.
Mm.
All righty then.
This is, as you know, last night I was told that this is a morbid conversation. Not too many people is interested in having that kind of conversation. Um, However, do you believe that there's a reason for it? Do you think that all of us should embrace death the same way we embrace life? I mean, that's the way I feel. But again, I'm kind of funny and different in many ways. But I feel like death is part of life. And so, the same way we can celebrate life, there ought to be a way for us to look at death and not to welcome it. No one really wants to say, "All right, Dev, come on, give me your best shot," but to know that sooner or later it's going to come and to kind of talk about it, plan it, prepare it, make sure that it is exactly the way that it ought to go when the time comes for you to leave. What do you think of that?
I disagree.
You did?
I do.
Yeah, tell me.
I'm not gonna say I look forward to death because it sounds morbid, but I'm perfectly okay with dying. I feel like I lived a really good life. I've been blessed with so many things that I can honestly say I could die tomorrow and I would be happy for multiple reasons. Another reason being I don't want to watch anyone else die. So I'd rather be the first one out. So I trust God. I mean, He's gonna put me where He sees fit. He put me here. I didn't ask to be here. So I
Yeah.
don't mind.
What about you, Jimmy? Do you welcome death?
To an extent, I just want to make sure that in my life I do everything that I need to do so there are no loose ends. Um, there's nothing that I left undone that I could have done while I was alive, and I don't leave my family with an undue burden. I leave my kids with and because in Proverbs it says that a wise man prepares for his grandkids, leaves posterity for his grandkids. So that's what I want to do. I want to be able to do that. If I live long enough to see that happen, when death comes, it'll be an okay death for me.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you. We're going to talk about some of the things that you mentioned today. Pat, do you welcome death?
I thought I did up until COVID. Then I realized I don't really welcome it. I'm like, no, don't come my way. I'm not as afraid as I was maybe 10, 20 years ago. As my kids are older now, they're early 20s. Of course, as new parents, I think I was deathly afraid of something happening to me when my kids were extremely young. And as I'm getting older, it is part of life. You need to prepare yourself. The thought of losing a loved one is never okay. However, we do know that it is inevitable. I'm better with it now. Of course, I would like to be that parent that lives to be 87, that have a bunch of grandkids and see your kids do wonderful things. But we know it's not in the card for everyone. So therefore, I try to live my life as if every day was the last day. I do agree that it does make you see life in a different perspective. So to that, I I'm trying to deal with it, but not necessarily the best topic, as you know.
Yeah, Markel. What's
Yes,
up,
sir.
Mark? Love the hairdo, man. Love the hairdo. I can't wait
Yeah,
Apparently,
to go.
we didn't get the memo.
No, we didn't.
me, me and Jimmy got this new thing we rocking, so
Yeah, yeah.
let it hang out.
So, do you welcome death?
Um, I'm gonna fight it a little bit. I'm not just gonna say come through and what I mean, we cool. But yeah, I mean, if it comes at the time it comes, at the age that it comes, I just pray that my family's in the best position to continue to live without me, in a sense. But that's really it. I'm not afraid of death. Like Patty said, I live my life to the fullest. Try to make sure I enjoy every day and have fun with the kids and stuff like that. So you don't have that, man, I wish I did this type of moment, or I wish I did that type of feeling. So I
Yeah.
mean, we'll go a couple rounds, but that's about it.
But let me tell you, death doesn't need to be a depressive subject. When we look at death, when we
I don't really see a positive side of a death. I don't know how you trying to spin
I gotta agree. I gotta agree with Markel there. I don't see me dancing to death.
Um,
You know, stay tuned for next week. You might find a reason to be excited about dying, but this is for another show. Next week it's coming, and I'll
okay.
tell you a little bit about that later. But I just want to say, the truth of the matter is, death is some people will say death is a universal experience. Um, but for me, I feel that it's not death that's universal. Is the fact that the expression of grief um, um, it differs from person to person, from culture to culture. It was interesting to me as I was researching this topic to realize that, for example, in Japan, the dead are remembered during a 3 day holiday in August. I mean, they have a holiday for 3 days where they celebrate the dead,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and they believe the spirit of their ancestors return to the family home, to the grave, and they go and
Oh.
Bloopers.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
and it's
Wally Freeze. I mean, I've heard of that before. I'll try to chime in until Mondi comes back, but I have actually told my wife this several times, and she gets mad every time we talk about it because she's not a big fan of the conversation. But I don't want a funeral. I don't want a funeral. I don't want you to spend money on a casket. If there's a place that you can go to just donate my body or cremate me, whatever, do something like that. Like I don't want, even if I had like life insurance, $1 million policy, they'll take it. I'd rather you take that money and do something else with it than to invest it in preparing for a funeral. Like I still would want my family and stuff, you guys to gather around each other. I've been a donut fan since I was like 6, and I was born in the morning at like 8. Jimmy's like, yeah, yeah.
Donut sticks everywhere.
I was born, I believe it's like 8 something in the morning or something like that. So remember, to me, everybody just eat a donut and have a great time, have a great enjoying, share stories about Markel, and whether positive or negative, and kind of keep it moving. I understand the concept of a funeral and things of that sort and why you're supposed to do it, but the amount of money that is spent on it is for the dead. In a sense, you're not really celebrating anything. It's the money you spend for the remembrance of this person, and I think you could do much more things with that.
Yeah, I mean,
I,
I just found out, like, I think in Pennsylvania it's not illegal to just wrap somebody in a cloth and bury them in the hole like that. You
It's
don't even
not.
have to get them. Yeah, you don't even have to get them embalmed or anything. You
Oh,
just
wow.
dress
really?
them up, wrap them up in a cloth, have the ceremony, and just bury them.
Oh,
What was that? What was that? Oh, like Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah,
With the grandpa in the back of the
in
car.
the back of the car. Yeah.
In the back, my grandpa's in the back of the car.
oh,
Um,
wow.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Um, I think that funerals are for the family, not really
That's
the
what I was
dead. Of
gonna
course,
say.
the dead are gone. I understand you don't want a funeral, Uncle Markel, but you're, you're probably gonna get one, like the way this family is set up. So I mean, everybody, to each their own. I don't want a big thing. I want a closed casket. I want to be cremated. You know, something simple. I'd rather a party, if anything, than you guys be sad because I mean, I'm excited for the next chapter in life. So I want you guys to be excited for me. I understand it's sad because we're not all together anymore. I think that's the worst part about death is we all die at different times and we don't really know where we're going. But I would pray that you guys would be happy for me moving on. So that's
So
just what
I
I
have
think
to
about
tell
death.
you, I have to tell you from someone that unfortunately lost a lot of loved ones. I do agree with Markel to some extent that looking at the cost of funeral, one casket, and it's definitely expensive. But this is a customary for us. This is what we know. Um, and also the grief factor of it. What I've seen is if you have a closed casket, the grief factor is less. If you have a cremation, the grief factor seems less than once you have the actual open casket and you can see the body. Because the thing is, you will see a body that's not moving when you used to that person moving. And my thing is like, get up. Why are you not getting up? So that whole grief factor really take you down. But I totally agree with Mindy as well that it is a way for the family to say goodbye. So it's necessarily not for you. It's like when you were born, when people come to visit you in the hospital, it's not for you. You don't know anything,
it's
but
like a
it's
wedding.
for it's for the family. And the same with death. People come, but there is a financial aspect to it that I think a lot of people are looking at nowadays and said, okay, is it worth all this, the whole cost of it? Can we do other things? Can the family still come together? For me,
Mhm.
if I'm sick, come visit me. Don't I have a lot there are a lot of sometimes people that know that the person is sick, they can't visit them, but then at the funeral they feel like they need to be there. Then surely you're not there for me. You're there for the family.
Right.
If I'm sick, come visit me so you can say your goodbye. Don't wait till the funeral to say it, because then you're not saying it to me.
Like they say, give the person their flowers when they're alive.
Exactly. Exactly.
Don't wait till they're dead. And I'm what I guess what I'm trying to clarify is I'm not saying I don't want a funeral, but I don't want it to be expensive. I don't want
Extravagant.
it to be
Yeah.
all this extra stuff. I wouldn't mind, like Jimmy just informed me, maybe I'll do some research in that. Bury my body on the side, have a portrait of me laughing up front, and with my hand like this, and everybody walk by and give me a high five or something crazy like that. Like make it like, for example, my wedding, right? Or most people's wedding. Louis, Louis.
Hey guys, what's going on? Sorry I'm late. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties. My apologies.
Very
It's
good.
all right, Louis.
So
Welcome.
like my wedding, or my wedding cost a bit much, right? And I think I only remember spending probably like 10 minutes involved with everybody. Or I was pulled to the side to do this, pulled to the side to do that. And it was like we paid for this whole wedding for everyone to come and celebrate. So I'd rather have a funeral like that. Like I'll have a funeral, everybody come celebrate instead of everybody bawling, crying, and walking past the casket and stuff.
Well, I want to start by asking Louis. I'm glad you're here, so I'm gonna shoot this question to you first. Welcome, by the way. And I don't know how much I missed because my internet went blank. So I was talking, dancing, laughing, faking I was not on. So I don't know what you guys saw, but anyway, I'm
We
back.
talked all about you.
Good. So now, what makes death um such a painful experience, the death of a loved one, so painful. I always wondered. I mean, we hear about people dying every day. We see it on TV. I mean, right now with COVID and so forth. But there's something about when it's someone that you know, when it's someone that you had interaction with, or whether it's a family member or a close friend. What is it about human beings that we are connected in such a way when it comes to death, it does something to us.
Is that for me?
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm starting with the same type of answer that I gave in the first show that I was a part of. But the truth is, I can't answer that question because for everyone, the answer is probably very different. But in a general sense, I would like to say that the concept of death is very humbling because it seems, for the most part, the plight of humanity is to have control. And death is the ultimate proof that we have absolutely no control. And in those moments that our loved ones uh, succumb to the ultimate fate, or we start to stare our own mortality in the face, we realize that what we have spent the overwhelming part of our lives trying to convince ourselves of is a lie.
Yeah, yeah. Same question for you. I'm gonna go to Jimmy with that. Um, what do you think the connection is?
Quite honestly, I got lost in his answer. And 'cause I agree with him. Like, we don't have any kind of control. And while I was listening to his answer, I forgot the question completely, honestly. Um, so if you can retake that question for me
Yeah,
real quick.
the question we're trying to understand, why do we feel the pain? Why is it so personal when it's someone that is close to us? Um, and I mean, we hear about death every day, but when it's someone that is close, it does something to us emotionally, physically. Why is that?
And like, yeah, like I was saying, I do agree with Lewis. It's something that we can't control, and but I think it's because also we have a spot that we are now going to not have.
Mhm.
So let's say, for instance, I sometimes I think about losing my wife. How would I feel? And I think about all the things that I'm able to accomplish it with her around. Now I'm going to have to do these things alone. Um, Raise the kids, tell jokes, and enjoy certain the odd things that we can enjoy together. Who am I going to enjoy these things with now? And those are the kind of things that kind of go through my head when I think about mortality. My parents are up there in age now. My dad is 82, and my dad is 81. My mom is 70, going to turn 71. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, uh, who am I going to argue with? And speaking with my mom, like who am I going to disagree with? Who's going to ask me to fill out their paperwork? And like those interactions that you think annoy you, you know you're going to miss them. You know
So
you're going to miss them.
so first off, Jim, you'll never win an argument with Sebunyak. Let's just go ahead. All right, as long as we know that. But I think both you guys hit it on the head. It's really about relationships, and it's really about how deep and connected that relationship is to you, and that would determine how affected you are by the death of that person.
Yeah,
If it's a celebrity or somebody like that you'll see on TV, you'd be like, oh man. If it's Michael Jackson, because you probably grew up to his on his music or something like that, you might feel it a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Because you remember hearing his songs and where you were at when you listened to his songs and things of that sort. If it's someone close to you, very close to you, a parent, a loved one, a spouse, things like that, a child. I've seen this tear people down, losing a child, especially if the child is still in your house. Because now you walk past their room, you know, and all their stuff is there. Or there's something they normally used to do in the morning and then they're not doing it anymore. So then that's the type of things that will continuously hit you until you are, I guess, out of the grieving process. If
Yeah.
there, if some people, if there even there's a time for that.
And to add to what Markel said, which I believe he nailed it on the head, in combination with Lois and Jimmy, it is you don't know what you have until you no longer have it.
Mm.
You go through your routine every day and you don't think about it. Like, for instance, you wake up, you go to work, you don't think about your routine until you lose your job. So, oh my God, I lost my job. I can't get up to go to work. So that's the same thing. You have your family member. You're thankful to have your family member, but you don't think about them dying every day. You just go about your business until maybe somebody's sick. Somebody's very sick. Then you start thinking, oh my God, why would I do it if that person's not around? And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't even get to think that because of the way that the person passed away. And then you don't have those routine. And routine gave us that dependency and relationship that you're so used to. And then now you have to try to undo it.
Mhm.
And sometimes only time can allow you to get past that.
Um, how many of us would say we are afraid of death, or is it afraid of dying?
I had a point um, where I had a point where I did fear death, but it wasn't the death itself. It was what came after death. Not so much even heaven and hell. What really I thought I thought myself into a box, and I said to myself, what if I die and everything I believed was wrong and there's nothing, like it's just black, and I'm dead. I won't know if there's blackness, but I'm thinking about it like just not existing, and that just puts so much uh like I don't know, this pressure on me. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, what does it mean not to exist? And I started going like, you understand what it is to be alive, to see people and to not see people or whatever. But you're trying to kind of imagining the world without you in it while you're still in it. And it kind of freaked me out. And that was one of the moments where death was like really a strange and fearful thing for me at that moment.
Can I say
Mango.
something,
Yeah.
Monday? To some extent, so I don't forget, to some extent, I kind of think that way. I guess the non Christian me. When I think about death and what happens once you leave this earth, I think about that blank. And unlike you, Jimmy, I'm perfectly okay with it. I'm actually excited about it, to be honest with you, because I go back to when my mother or my family members or my uncles and stuff were talking about when they were kids. I wasn't there. So I think of it the same way. I was like, oh, I guess I'll be the same place where I wasn't there 50 years ago. When they talk about their childhood, I'm like, well, I was non existent. So I kind of think of it the same way. Is it the same way that when you're dead, maybe you go into that black hole that you were into before you were born?
Hmm. Mandy,
I
are
agree
you
with
afraid of
Auntie
death?
Patty. I mean, I'm not afraid of death at all. I feel like God gave me so much already that even like what sweet Nina baby said, there's no next chapter, you're just dead. I'm okay with that too, because he gave me so much. There's 24 hours in my day and I can't tell you how much time I spent wasting it already. So who am I to ask for more after all of this is done? Um, I'm perfectly okay with it. I think that it may be hard for family for a while, but I mean, I've been here for 22 years and I'm exhausted. Like, I've been here a long time. So I'm I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly fine with it.
Now, many of you have seen, Twilight movies or vampire movies and why not, and where they make an attempt of the afterlife of a vampire who has come back to life. If what do you think would happen if people never die? To me, sometimes I think about this. What 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 do you think life will be like? I mean, we see what goes on in our world today with the pain and the suffering and the hunger and what's happening with mankind. Can you imagine if we were going through this um, forever and ever and ever, and there's no end? What kind of life would that? I don't know. I don't know if I'm even asking the right question. What do you think life will look like if there was no death?
Um, you could kind of take that in a positive way, right? What I mean by that is you can truthfully be fearless and not worry about dying. So you can, what's the best way of, you can go beyond your limits. A lot of people don't do certain things because they have the fear of such and such happening. I'm not going to jump out this airplane, even though I have a parachute. What if I pass out? What if something happens to me in the air? What if my parachute don't open up? So that's capping people's fear close to death. So if you erase the death out of it, then I feel like you have a lot of people fearless, and that'll push them to do a lot more with the life that they have.
Okay. Louis?
I wanna start by addressing a little bit of the first question. No one fears death, and to say otherwise is not true because you can't fear something that you've never experienced. People don't fear fire. They fear the consequences of fire, which is why they don't put their hand in it. And the reason why they don't put their hand in it is because they have some experience, whether through themselves or through a third party, what happens when you put your hand in fire. So the fear of death is not a fear of death, it's a fear of the question.
Mm-hmm.
All of the things that have been said so far have been what if, what if, what if. We have these boxes set up. But the truth is, the only thing I know about death is it's not living. That's it. That is the only thing that I or anyone else on this planet knows about death. Death is not living. And based on what I know, I have a question, a concern. Because, yes, I mean, there would, if we knew what happened on the other side of death, there would only be two religions: the religion that respects what's on the other side and the religion that doesn't respect what's on the other side. But because we don't know, that allows all of these ideas and philosophies to flourish. If we never died, you have the concept of scarcity, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with the completely nerd aspect where you run the risk of running out of natural resources, but I'm sure something would be put in place with regard to that. But as far as never dying goes, I don't think that of all of the evil in this world, man tears down other men because they're trying to live longer. The reason why you have wars is because people want more than someone else, and they're willing to bring harm to someone else to take what they have. So you just have a lot older people going to war than you do now.
Yeah, to me, it's like survival of the fittest on a
Mm-hmm.
continual basis.
On a perpetual basis. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because no matter how you look at it, that's what will happen. The strong will get stronger, and the weak will continue to get weaker. So
Right.
it will be just another picture of what's going on in our
What's
world
already
right
exists.
now,
Yeah.
except it will magnify to a whole new level. So the idea then is not living on this side of the universe forever will not be if I could even use that word, a blessing. It will let, to me, that would be a curse.
Yep.
um, for someone living with cancer forever, or someone living with a sickness that's chewing away the body, but they cannot die, and they're in agony forever. So to me, that would be the definition of hell on earth, having that kind of life. Having said that, do you guys think your understanding or your perspective of death has something to do with your upbringing, whether or not it was rooted in religion or philosophy, or the way you feel about death is 100% related to how you were brought up, and because of that, you look at the afterlife differently. Anyone wants to jump on
I
that?
do.
All
I
right.
personally think it has a lot to do with my upbringing because I grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist Christian household where the Seventh-day Adventist answer is after death, I feel secure because I am a child of God. So I feel like I grew up this way, so it gave me kind of guidelines for how to go about my life and kind of win my way to, happiness forever. So I feel like for someone who didn't have that type of hope or that type of support system or
Upbringing.
educational aspect, upbringing, growing up, I feel like they wouldn't know what to think or how to live for them to, I mean, who cares if everything at the end of the day, you just die. Like, why do you care about how you lived? I feel like my upbringing gave me a direction to go so that I can have a better outcome, or at least think that I have a better outcome when I die. You know,
Anyone else? How do you guys feel about this?
I can jump in. I grew up, I mean, upbringing has a lot to do with it, but for me, even though I grew up Catholic and we know that there's heaven and things like that, I've always been deathly afraid of dying. Um, I think partially because I don't know that I always believe of the happy ever laugh after kind of mentality, even as a child. And I remember I didn't know of any close people dying when I was a child, but I'll hear like neighbors and stuff like that. And I'll even be afraid passing by their house. I'm like, oh my God, they're dead. And I'm like running. And so I don't pass by their house and stuff like that. So I was always afraid of that aspect. But then as I got older, I'm no longer afraid of the dying per se. I think the person that passed away, unfortunately, you lose a lot. So it depends if you're sick or whatever. But still, I just feel like sometimes the family lose, but the person get to miss out on a lot of activities as well. That's the part that I think that in my mind is somewhat of a issue. I guess what like Lewis was saying, you don't know death. You don't know what the answer, what that question mark is. We don't know. But what I do know is I do miss that person. And sometimes I also know that I said to myself, oh my God, that person, it's unfair because that person got to miss so much. So in that aspect, I see death as definitely a relationship and missing more than anything. But in the same token, if somebody is suffering a lot, I don't believe that they should be, hook up to a lot of machine just because the family member is going to miss them. That's also extremely selfish. So it's a catch 22 when it comes to death. But I don't believe that the happily ever after part of the death. I'm still kind of shaky with that part.
Okay. Jimmy?
Upbringing wise, just like Mandy was mentioning, Seventh Day Adventists, it's you go into the sleep until the trumpet sounds, and if you wake up at that first trumpet, then everything's good. um, but I tend to, like I said earlier, sometimes I go, my thought patterns go against what I've been taught, and that brings me to those places where I question it and fear it. But upbringing wise, it's always been the same, and I still feel the same about it now. Is just it's just gonna be a rest. And I'm gonna wake up when the trumpet sounds, and that's that. And it's just gonna be another blip, like sleeping and waking up. You don't know what's going on. But yeah, that's mostly to due to upbringing and what I've been taught. I've been in Christian school from like for 4 to 8, and then Seventh Day Adventist from age whatever fourth grade is, all the way to now. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much a lot of upbringing affects it.
Well, from as a person of challenging faith, I'll say that because upbringing wise, just like everyone mentioned, it's death and then resurrection at the sound of the trumpet. Depending on the life that you lived, if you're baptized or not, if you will be going up or down in a sense, right? But the questions that begin to stir is the unknown of if that's for real or if that's just the story of hope. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times it's preached that way, that live your life correctly so that if you die, you go to heaven. And then you always have questions of okay, well, give me an example of somebody that's happened to so I can talk to them and kind of see what it's like. And you can't. You can't talk to nobody. So there's no concrete of what happens after death. There's nobody that dies that comes back. There's nobody that dies that goes to heaven. There's nobody that dies that goes to hell that you can actually sit and they'll tell you like, yeah, it's real. So it's really always about your faith and what you believe and what you was taught growing up. And if you are still spiritual like I am, it's really just about you praying and hoping that God continues to show you the answer. But for most people, if you are like me with challenging faith, it's kind of I'm not 100% sure. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you, Kills. That's where I'm at.
All right, Lois. Same question for you, sir.
You
Wait,
left the
before
bad guy for last, right?
before you answer, Lewis, I just want everybody to. You look like a whole DJ right now. The headphones you got on, you look like you mixed and master or something on the side. But
Come now, selector. All right, so I'm about to start some trouble.
Uh-oh.
Uh, so, but I'm not intentionally. All right, you know what? No setup. Let's just get into it. How many people, by show of hands, believe something divergently different than what they were led to believe was truth as a child?
Concerning death or anything.
Concerning
Overall,
concerning
overall.
everything,
Oh, all of us. All of us
all of
at
us,
some point. Yeah,
everyone.
absolutely.
So I'm going to use some terms that we justify in society and use a word that means the exact same thing, but we think that it's evil. So child rearing is considered a responsibility for parents who bring children into the world, preparing them to take care of themselves and function in society. And brainwashing is a synonymous word. All it means is I am going to do what is necessary to convince you to believe what I want you to believe. Child rearing, brainwashing, same thing. So I had a conversation with my wife and a family member of hers about a year ago. And during the course of the conversation, I mentioned that the concept of faith and facts can't walk down the same street together because the definition of faith is to believe in what you cannot prove. And the definition of facts is believing in what is provable. So faith and facts are literally opposing ideologies. That being said, people who have facts have a tendency to exploit or exaggerate. They use a little too much hyperbole with regard to facts. The Big Bang Theory is a theory. We don't, it's not a fact. The theory of evolution is a theory. It is not a fact. There are bits of information that are put together in a recipe and conclusions are come to just like people of faith do. But in the grand scheme of things, with regard to what we believe as children, we believe what we are given by the people that we trust the most. And it is our responsibility as adults to constantly question what we don't know to be true, all while being honest with the obviousness of facts. I think that we weaken ourselves and society in general when we obfuscate, when we take things for granted. It is okay to say, I have faith in this and I don't know that. It is it is a responsible thing to accept the facts as they are presented. So I am not saying that, people of faith are any more or less than people who are more scientific. What I'm saying is if we could be a little more modest in our plots in life, a little more modest with regards to what we don't know or what we think we know or what we think we understand, we might just have the greatest evolution of intelligence the world has ever seen. People think that the technology revolution is something special. I'm waiting for a revolution of actual intelligence because we walk around and mock the thinking of 1500 years ago when people thought that the earth was the center of the universe. I wonder what people will laugh at us about 1500 years from now. And I don't think that enough of us stop to realize how insignificant we are in the sands of time. We're we've accomplished nothing. We're here according to the Bible. We're guaranteed about 80 years for a planet that has existed, depending on what you choose to believe, for either 12,000 or 65 million, whichever one you choose to believe. 80 years is a grain of sand. So whether it is the upbringing, I don't blame the upbringing because at some point you need to test and prove the data for yourself. And blaming the thinking of a child. There's another Bible verse that says, "When I was a child, I thought and spoke as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things." First, we saw dimly, right?
Hmm.
And I'll let the pastor finish the rest. But it ends with, "I see clearly now." That's what it begins with. And I think that some of us sit back and want to claim that where we stand is seeing clearly because we're unwilling to do the work necessary to actually see clearly.
So
And I'm off my soapbox.
to add to that, just a little bit, because I think the fear of the other side is why people won't go forward to do the research or ask the questions and things of that sort. They'll rather continue to believe what was taught to them or told to them because it's easier than it is to go forward and challenge something that you were a way that you were living your whole life, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And if I could piggyback off of that, I'd like to ask you a personal question. Can
Okay.
you name one thing that you know that you are in fear of having known it?
One thing that I know that I'm in fear of having known it.
Yes.
Oh, this is a deep
I
question.
can say Lewis.
Huh?
I said I can say Lewis.
You are in fear of having known me.
Yes. That
I'm
was
sorry.
supposed to be a joke.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That was supposed to be a joke. While
All
Marcus
right, all right.
Marcus
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that anyone knows that they walk around in fear because they know it.
Well, to know something, I guess maybe if I understand your question, Louis. I remember growing up, I was an altar boy. I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was indoctrinated with the Catholic religion, and then later on, I became an Adventist. And quite frankly, for the good portion of my life, the notion of God as a friend or God as someone that care about me was foreign. My understanding of God was someone who is. I always used to think that God walk around with a 4x4, literally.
Smack you with it.
If you do what it tells you to do, He'll bless you, He'll bless your family. But if you don't, He'll whack you on the side of your head and get you in line,
Via baton.
because that's the way I was taught, my understanding. And then you mentioned when you were a child, you talk like a child, and you thought like a child, and you reason like a child. I transitioned from being a child into an adult where I began to search for me, for myself, not just what they told me as a kid, not just what I learned at the seminary, but I wanted to learn for myself whether or not this is real, whether or not I can have a relationship with a being without being afraid of him. And I have learned that the reason why I was afraid of him is because I was taught a God that I should be afraid of. But when I started studying the Bible and understanding God, I reasoned this is not the God of the Bible when I'm reading it, because he's saying I'm a God of love, and then he's expressing his love in so many ways. If I look at the Old Testament from that angle, from that perspective, and see what God has been doing, trying to save a little group, trying to save a little group, and then go to the New Testament and see what happened when he sits there. Jesus sits there with the leaders, with the church people, and then he's telling them, "You have heard, but I said." In other words, everything that you have heard before, I'm trying to tell you, you've been doing it wrong. You misunderstood God. When you look at Job, Job say, "God gives, God takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." That's not true. That's when you look at a prophet who say he's gonna go and he's gonna lie, and then God said, go ahead and go and lie. And you're like, wait, did God just give him permission to go and lie? But you read it that way, you say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. You're right, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Therefore, I need to stop, go back, reread, reanalyze what I'm reading, trying to make sense of it all, to see it from God's perspective,
Right.
and trying to make sense of it all for me. To what I'm trying to say is to go back to your original point.
Hmm.
I believe that, and I told you guys this before. One of the problem that I have with religion that only use the Bible, and again they're gonna say, well, Martin Luther said the Bible and the Bible alone. No, he was talking about the Bible and the Bible alone in relationship to the Catholic Church, who was using culture. He was trying to talk to them specifically, saying, no, we cannot bring culture into it. We need to look at the Bible. What the Bible, however, say, and I use this verse all the time, when it says to come, let us reason together. God
Yes.
wants us to always seek and have conversation. In fact, that's what I like about you, Louis, when we talk, because you're always challenging us to think. You're challenging us not just to read it and say, okay, we take it, but to think, to process. What is it that you just read? Does it make sense to you? Let's analyze it. The problem, however, is when we only take the Bible and we leave out science, we live out I believe the Bible, God speaks to us through the Bible. He also speaks to us through science. He also speaks to us through nature. Before there was any book written, nature was the Bible. Nature was what God was using to speak to us. And then finally he gives us our intellect to be able to think, to be able to process. So when you put all those four things together, then you become more balanced in your relationship with God. I'm not even going to say and your Adventist relationship or Catholic relationship. I don't care about that. And your own relationship with God, then you can question things like we are doing right now. For many people, questioning God, it's a no-no. To say that I'm not too sure about what happened after death, a lot of people won't dare say that. But the reality is, we are not sure. We are not sure. But we base it, we go back, we dive ourselves back into the word, we immerse ourselves back into culture, I mean back into science and back into the nature, to see how science and nature and the Bible, how all those three things harmonize when we talk about the afterlife. What are the evidence? Are there any evidence or afterlife? We say it.
Yes.
We don't think that we do, but we do. For example, when you look at spring, I mean when you look at winter, and then you look at spring, spring is considered more what we will consider in science afterlife or rebirth, right? So it is possible that something that possibly die could come back again to life. We see it in nature. So to say that, you know, I think to me that's where the rubber hits the road. We have to be able, and I'm going to say this again, we have to be able to balance our knowledge by bringing the Bible and the science and those four elements that I mentioned before, by bringing those four things together to come with a good understanding of what God is trying to say to us. So when we talk about the topic like death, to me that's a perfect place. Science tells you what happened when you die. Science tells you what happened with the mind, what happened to when the body is when the brain is no longer functioning. Science tell you all of these things. And then you look at, for example, the first time I finally understood what death really looked like and what a resurrection body really looked like is when a computer crashed. Your computer crashed, but you had a backup somewhere, you know, you somewhere it was uploaded, right? In the cloud. Your computer crashed. You're like, no problem. You go and buy a new computer, but everything that was uploaded in the cloud, you can take that, put it into your new computer, and pick up exactly where you left off. Jesus is saying, this is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you a new body, and everything that was uploaded into the hard into the
The cloud.
clouds is gonna come back. So if you die hating Christ, you're gonna wake up hating Christ. It makes sense because the way you die is the way you're gonna wake up. You understand what I mean? But we have to analyze all of those four things together. We can't just have the Bible and then dismiss science. We can't have science and dismiss nature. We can't have those things and dismiss our intellect. We got to combine them together to really come up with a good conclusion. So, having said that, here's the next question for you. We talk about science. Science right now, this thing started already. They have something called cryogenics, where they can literally freeze your body. The technology is there. For those of us who don't know, that's exactly. I'm not a scientist. Maybe Pat, you can jump in for me. The same thing that happened when a woman wants to get pregnant, they can freeze
The eggs.
the
Eggs.
egg. Okay, it's exactly the same thing, but science is assuming that they can do the same thing with the human body 200-300 years from now. Maybe they might come up with enough knowledge to resurrect a human body. The question then I wanted to ask is, if you had the money, it only will cost you about $100,000. Okay, just for your head. The rest of the body will cost more. You can save the head for about $100,000. If you know this knowledge is out there, would you be interested, and why? And saving your body, and why? Why would you want to come back 200 years from now to this life?
Oh, I'll be happy to do that one first.
Go ahead.
Because ultimately, what human beings are social explorers. And what we want more than anything else, above love, above happiness, we want to know. That is what human beings want. We
Yeah.
want to know. That is why a baby reaches out for the hot iron. That's why when the speed limit is 65, what will happen if I do 80?
You get a ticket.
We
That's
want to know. And hey, if I got $100,000 that I can plop down to find out if to enter into the possibility of winning the lottery ticket, that I might be able to walk around again 200 or 300 years from now, that is a bet. Yes, I'll buy that ticket if I can. And I don't think there's anybody here, and I could be wrong. I imagine, I admit I'm subjecting everyone here to my own ideologies, but I think deep down, even though they may not buy the ticket, I think everyone, if I knew I was going to die the next week, but there's a possibility that I could consciously know that I died in the year 2020 and walk the earth again in 2320, yeah, sign me up. I'm in.
No.
And to add to what Lewis mentioned, I do clinical research. So we study molecule to market and bring drug to market. And I remember we had, I think about 5 years ago, an investigator. They're the doctors. We call them investigator, and very, very smart guy from, I think, Romania. And he was telling me he's with Columbia Hospital or something. And I went to visit for one of our studies, and he was telling me about this gentleman very well off in Romania, because he had just come back from Romania, and he was telling me how the guy was literally dead. He was home. He was being fed by nutritional fluid, and the reason why the family kept him alive and would have the expert of the world visit is because they're hoping that if they continue to keep him alive, eventually science will come with something. And that's what he was there for. So he went and visited the guy and did whatever he had to do as doctor. And I said, how long has it been? He said, it's been about 7 years. And I'm shaking my head like, this is crazy. But then I'm asking myself, if it was someone, if it was my husband, God forbid, my son or something, and I had the money, would I consider crazy? Probably not. Probably not. So I have to agree with Lewis that if you do have the money, and it is a concept, and we are a world of concepts. What we thought was crazy 15 years ago, or I mean 100, 150, 200, 500 years ago becomes a reality, vice versa. So we don't know. And when you don't know, and money,
that's the reason I align up my belief and the Bible. I'm listening to this. This is so beautiful because again, you guys are willing to invest $100,000 into the unknown. Maybe it might work. Maybe science will catch up 200-300 years from now, and then you might wake up. But I'm also reading somewhere that says, you know, if you invest in this guy, you might come back. You see, so wait. There's no finger pointing here. I'm just making
yes, it is. Yes, it
is. You have the right to believe exactly, and the science saying, okay, science might catch up 200-300 years from now, and if your body was preserved, you might come back. What I'm trying to say is, I also have the same belief, saying
Right.
if I believe in and the gospel, if I believe in God, I can come back exactly the way the gospel describe it, and it's no different than the way you're thinking, Pat.
I totally agree with you, and it's a either scenario. It's a leap of faith, but no guarantee though. It is a leap of faith.
Paul said that. Listen, I agree with you. Again, let's go back to Paul. Paul said, listen,
You know, so
I'm going to sound like your president right now. You got nothing to lose.
I have to go back with Lewis and with Michael, my challenge in faith. But there's a lot of Christians that really think this is reality. Nobody can come back and say exactly what this is what it is. It's a leap of faith that you decide to choose which one of the spectrum you're going to go with. But it is
Hold on, before you go, man. Here's why I think, Mondi, what you're saying is that was a real good sneak in pastor type question in there.
No, not even close.
No, it was good. It was good because what you did was
we were both exercising the power of faith.
No, listen.
Science might cut up.
You sneak it in, Monday. You sneak it in. Markel.
Go ahead, Markel.
Listen, let me tell you why you stuck it in there. Because first you gave, like Lewis was just talking about, faith and factual stuff, right? So first you gave the factual part that, hey, science said they can do this, they can do that. So when you go with what's factual, it's easier to believe that. right?
Mhm.
Because you've seen it happen before. They've done this experiment. Here's the results. They such and such and such. So now it's easy like, oh yeah, I paid 300K
No,
and
no, but
freeze.
no one has come back. No one has come back
Right,
from there.
right,
So
right.
it's still based on,
It's still an act of faith.
yeah, it's still an
It's
act of
true.
faith.
It's an act of
We're
faith
talking
in the
about
belief that
could
science
happen
is going to come
200
through.
years from now.
Yeah.
So all right, so more believable in science versus more believable in God is the
Right.
kind
So
of
Mundy's concept is completely. His argument is very sound. Who is your God? The Christian God, or is science your God? And that is um, part and parcel of what a lot of these episodes have been about, or at least at some point they move to that. So the issue that I have, it's not really an issue. So here's the argument that I constantly make. Someone in a Facebook group that I am in said, a dog worships its master. A dog has more sense than an atheist does. And I am not an atheist, but there are people of divergent beliefs. And I responded to that saying, the dog sees its master. And using that person's argument, the dog is smarter than a Christian because the dog has proof of what it believes. Now, I didn't say that to be, well, I said it to be condescending because he was being condescending, but that is not my belief in what Christians believe. So Christians have faith and they cannot justify the faith, and that's fine because the atheist also requires faith to
Yeah,
leap to the point to say there
absolutely.
is no God. It requires the exact same leap
Yep,
for an atheist to say there is no God.
correct. Absolutely. You absolutely
So,
correct.
so to say that I have 100, 500, $600,000 and I'm going to go to the casino and God said to bet on black. And if another person walks into the casino and said, I did all of these calculations and my science says to bet on red, there's still leaps of faith, man. Because the probability that both of them are wrong is exactly identical.
It is a leap
I
of faith,
disagree
but for right
100%.
now, go ahead, Mindy. I know you've been waiting.
I disagree 100% because I work in the medical field. I work in the nursing field, and I've seen human error when it comes to life. So I would not, me personally, I mean, whatever you do is your prerogative. But I personally, when it comes to God or a person controlling my afterlife, I would much rather put my faith with God because he put me here in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me dealing with someone I don't know, or 200 years down the line, that could be anybody with my body, my soul, my energy. I believe in energy. I don't believe energy disappears, but that has all these parts of me, and they could just leave it somewhere. I could be on somebody's flash drive and then they forget me in the mix-up drawer or something like that, you know, or they drop me in water.
Mandy, can I
I
ask you a
can't.
question? Can I ask you a
Yes.
question? You just stated that you don't believe energy can be created nor destroyed.
I believe it can be created, but I don't believe it can be
Well,
destroyed.
obviously it was created. So because energy
That
exists.
that's the
Exactly.
law
So
of physics.
hold on. So what are the traumas that you deal with regard to what you were before you were Mandy?
There are no traumas.
Exactly. So then clearly your energy existed before it came together to be Mandy.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're saying that you're worried about the afterlife, someone doing something to your energy, and
Not
there, hold
someone.
on, there is no post-traumatic stress syndrome from what was done with your energy before you became who you are now. So why are
Mhm.
you worried?
I wouldn't be worried if God was the one handling it. That's my thing. We're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
specifically
So who
someone
your trustee is?
freezing
You're
me.
concerned about the trustee. I understand.
Exactly. I trust God. I'm not about to trust a human being
I understand.
with
And
You're
making
and
concerned with the
Mindy,
trustee.
Mindy, I get you. The
yeah.
one thing with science, so currently as we speak, they're both leap of faith. But the one thing with science is science has to be reproducible, meaning that if you're going to get to point A and you have to do a lot of tests, and that test have to be the same over and over and over and over. So it has to be reproducible. So in the long run, when you have something that is scientifically based, when you get to the end of it, you should be able to reproduce it with no error. If there is error in it, then it's not scientifically sound.
Factual. It's not
It's
factual.
not a scientifically
Well,
sound or
It could
factual
be
thing.
sound.
I
It could
agree
be
with
sound.
that.
So what's your point? What's your point, Pat?
Well, because Mandy said she would trust God into something versus someone that is going to kind of do things to her body that she doesn't know. What I'm saying is, as of right now, it is a leap of faith. But when science does get to it, it would not be a leap of faith. It would be fact.
So
I don't
that's
believe that.
Because it would be
error.
tested over and over with no fallacy
I
That's-
don't
before it becomes a fact.
don't
That's
believe
what I
that.
was
I used to work in a T-Mobile
So-
store,
My,
and I would.
go ahead, man.
I used to work in a T-Mobile store, and I would sell phones to people that you wouldn't even believe the amount of times. And these were verified, okay, before they even came to the store. They were scientifically sound phones. But a couple days later, the people are coming back to me and they're saying, listen, this phone has problems. And I'm shifting through the phone. I'm like, wow, it has so many errors in it. So I don't believe anything man-made is 100% perfect. Whether it's scientifically reproduced 1 billion times, 100 times, I don't trust it.
All right, so we're gonna transition now. It's been good. It's been good, but I want us to transition a little bit. I was wondering. I'm gonna start with Jimmy. Jimmy, you've been quiet, watching the family going at it. If you were given the chance, how should I phrase this? If you could choose how you were going to die, what would you choose your death to be?
This is a family show. Doing something that I enjoy doing, and without being a burden to the person that is doing it with me. That's as far as I can take it without taking away the G rating of this show.
All right, so let's same question for you, Mandy.
Yes.
So if
If
you were going to die, what would you choose your death to be?
I would choose two things. I would either choose to die saving someone, like someone's life, like heroically, even if it was like someone, it could be someone who was about to cure cancer or someone about to go home to their family, like one of those. Or I would die, but that one would have to be very quick. You know, I'm not about to sit here and be tortured. I'd rather go with option number 2. My option number 2, and I've imagined this for myself, is to die like in my bed with the window cracked open just a little bit and there's light shining in and I can hear like the birds and nature and everything beautiful going on outside. And I have my candles lit and I'm getting sweet aromas while my nurse is pumping all the morphine into my system. And then I peacefully
You've given this a lot of thought here. Yeah, I'm sending a message to medical services right now. You've given this far too much thought. Far too much thought.
That's my ideal death.
All right.
All right, Patty, same question for you.
Definitely non-brutal. I'm actually afraid to say it. I do believe in sometime whatever you get to come out of your mouth is going to be the opposite sometime. Definitely no dreaded sickness, no brutal car accident or something like that. Just I go to sleep and I'm gone. Unlike when Mendy, I don't want any aroma or window open. Just go to sleep. But something quick, something that does not cause a lot of pain to people in terms, I mean, something quick can cause a lot of pain because people are not used to it. They didn't have time to unfortunately say their goodbyes. But I guess I'm going to be selfish. It's something that's not going to cause a lot of pain to me. Something quick. I go in my sleep and that's it.
All right. So different question. I know Marky was thinking about that first question,
Oh,
but I got a different question for you. The question is, if you were given the chance to have someone die with you, who
ooh,
would that person be and why?
ooh.
You
Oh,
better say your wife if you want to stay home today.
so, so it can't be my wife because who's gonna be with the kids? I need somebody to
That's you
continue
too.
to
That's you too. That's you too.
um,
I volunteer as tribute.
no. Okay. Um. Oh,
Looking forward to.
I love you, Michael, but I don't want it.
Jim,
Don't
Jim, you trying to ride with me, Jim? Anybody?
If I can steal the answer from you, I would choose to die with the person that would cause the most harm on the earth during my lifetime.
Ooh,
Okay.
wow.
So
the
okay,
person
I'm
would what?
That was good.
gonna tie
What?
in. Oh, go ahead.
He's gonna choose. He's gonna take the bad guy out with him.
Yes.
So if Batman is dying, he's taking the Joker with him.
Yes.
Like that.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tie in. I'm gonna tie in the first question and the second question because I like where Jimmy went with this. The answer with how I want to die would be going out shooting, guns blazing, protecting the family, just shots after shot, killing multiple people. And then I die, I get a building named after me or a bridge,
Or a statue that gets
a
torn down
statue.
200 years later by White Lives Matter.
Yeah, and I will be taking out, like you said, I'll be taking out one of the bad guys, just protecting
Yeah.
the family. That'll be my way to go. Somebody to take with me.
All right. Louis, you get a crack at this question as well.
Jimmy and my boy Michael took my answer. Although I'm going to add something. After it was done, after the death has happened, there is something that I understand why they teach in the madrasas that if you take out your enemy, there are 49 virgins waiting for you. Now, personally, I don't want virgins. I want someone with a little more experience. But if I could get the going out in a blaze of glory and 49 strippers on the other side of that would be like, that's the grand slam. I'm good to go after that. I'm
You
good.
need to prepare you for the afterlife already.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
said
that's
I
yeah.
put too much thought into this.
And you
But
know what?
I really think that's every man's answer. It's just
And you know
there's
what?
not a lot of men who will say it.
I'm not even hurt by that because I would be at the bank collecting the insurance.
Oh man,
Oh
there
man.
you go.
So now, having said all that, I know we're laughing. This is all laughing jokes and everything like that. But the idea of talking about death to me helps us to understand um, the value of life. What's really important. Um, as we talk about death, what are some of the things that we have to make sure that now that we are still alive, we are still living, we have responsibilities to our families and to make sure that we leave things in place so that when the time comes for us to leave, we are not a burden to our families.
I'll start. Um, I used to sell life insurance, and unfortunately, life insurance is something that not a lot of people are favorable, see in a favorable light. And so I'm not going to leave, especially in my immediate community. I'm not going to make people rich off my death, and that's not what life insurance is about. So one of the things that I have done is get life insurance. It's not enough life insurance yet, because of our, financial situation, but we are going to improve upon it as our situation changes. Another thing is we are building a trust, getting a trust put together, so we know where all the assets are going, where where all the assets are going, who's going to take care of the kids, who's going to handle the money to take care of the kids, because those are not going to be the same people. Um, who's going to get the house, who's going to get the those assets. So, and what are the conditions in which the kids can get the money? So if one kid decides, hey, I'm not going to be living a good life anymore, I got all this money, well, guess what, the trust says if you don't if you don't pass these criteria we left, the money's going to go to charity, it's going to go somewhere else. So leave different things so that our will can continue on, and so that, like, just so generations and generations can continue enjoying the roots that we laid down.
Hmm. Pat.
I think Jimmy said most of the stuff that I would have said, and I know Lewis and I did we have a trust, and the person that did a very good job. So Jimmy, if ever we could always give you that person. But definitely what Jimmy mentioned, and unfortunately, in time of sickness and death, or preparing for a dying person, there's so many things that are going on that the financial aspect of it become extremely burdensome. And even after the person's passed away, the whole estate is a whole new two to three different shows. So the more you can do to prepare your family, you don't have to have Kardashian money. You could even just, have a notary to talk about, if something should happen to you, if you're in a hospital and your husband and your kids having decisions to make decisions for you, how long do you want to be intubated for? These things can be written on a piece of paper and go to a notary and have it notarized. It doesn't have to be totally legal, spelled out. But be as prepared as you can. Give people inclination of what you would want, because when you laying somewhere and your family member wants to make decision, there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of fighting also that doesn't have to happen if you had specifically put these things on paper about what you would want, because there are other emotions that are going around that time as well. I've seen a lot of family, unfortunately, split apart after death because of a finance decision, of money, of different decisions that everybody think, certain things should have gone this way versus that way. Put it out there. It is definitely a discussion that we cannot avoid. Put it on a piece of paper. You don't necessarily need an attorney for everything. Write it, go get it notarized, say what you want while you still alive.
Good, good, good. Like for me, I feel that you have to come to a place where you reprioritize your goals. Because as you can see, if we learn anything from COVID-19 is that um, life is really, really short. Okay. And at any given time, any one of us, could be gone. So when you look at your life, sometimes the Bible say we need to examine ourselves, examine our lives. It's good sometimes to look at your life and really ask the kind of questions that maybe many of us don't even want to ask, like how much time do I really have left? And the little bit of time that I have left, how do I want to spend it? Do I really want to spend it doing this kind of work or doing this job that I hate going to? Or do I really want to spend it in this relationship that I don't really want to be in? You have to look at your life and really ask those hard questions and begin to make different plans and begin to implement other plans for your life. I also feel that you have to look at what's really important. Is it the job that's important? What do you really want to leave behind? I think a lot of time as parents, even parents, we think, oh, if I leave the house for the kids, or if I leave money, they'll be well taken care of. Although those are great things, but I still feel that there ought to be some other things that money can never leave behind. you know the time that you spent with your kids, the time that you spent talking with your kids and teaching them, a phone call just to say, I just wanted to tell you I love you, or something small. Those are the little things that we leave behind, believe it or not, that your kids will always remember. Last week we spent a good 15-20 minutes, Patty, talking about your mom, the legacy she left behind, and how wonderful it was. And here's someone that didn't have much money, but the legacy that she left behind was so rich. even now we're still reflecting on it, we're still talking about it. So for me, Jimmy, I agree with you. Patty, I agree with you. Those things that you mentioned are equally important, but I feel that we need to dive a little bit deeper, as far as so final wishes, guys. Before we close today, what would be your final wishes? What would you want um to be written on your grave post, if that's even the right word? What would you want people to remember you by? I'm going to start with Louis.
Nothing. I don't want a gravestone. Stick me in an oven, plant me with some watermelon seeds, and watch me rise again.
All right, that was quick and easy.
Quick and
uh
easy.
Mandy, how would you want, what would your final wishes be?
My final wishes would be for people to, on my gravestone, I want "She Loved" to be on there because I want my family to remember. I want my friends to know that I love them and that um, I cared about them, and that if I have the ability after I'm dead, I will always be thinking about them. And if they're sad or if they're lonely or if they're missing me, to know that if I could give them a hug, I would. So I mean, that's what I want people to remember me by: the
Yeah.
fact that I loved, wholeheartedly. So
All right.
So I stated earlier, I don't want a funeral, don't want a tombstone, don't want a casket, none of that stuff. But if you to answer your question, I would want it to say, "Here lies the man who did everything for his family."
See how serious he looks right now when he say that. Look at that serious look.
we got you. It's a done deal. It's okay.
Because I don't want to extend it out even more. But like since I've had my second child, my mindset is just switched completely. Like I feel like I've given up on some of the goals that I wanted for my life, and some people might be like, no, still chase your goals and stuff like that. But from here going forward, because life is so short, COVID, et cetera, you don't know when he's going to go. You need to be doing whatever you can so your family is straight to continue to be able to live if you are not here. You know what I'm saying? If I'm the one that's doing everything for my family right now and they're not understanding what I'm doing, I'm not showing them what I'm doing. I know family members, real quick story. I know a lady when I used to work at a bank, she came in and she literally broke down in front of me because she never knew how to pay a bill or anything because the man, her husband, who died, was the one that took care of everything. And if you ask me, he didn't do her justice by not preparing her or showing her or teaching her how to have life without him. If you ask my wife, she should be able to do everything that I know how to do and more. So as I continue to teach and continue to train my kids, I hate to say the word train, but that's what it is. Um, I'm showing them how to be able to handle themselves, take care of themselves without me being around. In that same notation, at that same time, I'm doing everything in my power so they can have an easier life if I'm not around.
All right. Thank you. Jimmy, how would you want to be remembered? What would be your final wishes?
I just want to be remembered as the one who left everybody blessed, and fully capable. That's pretty much it. I left everybody with everything fully equipped, financially, emotionally, helped them spiritually. Everywhere I could have helped, I helped, and they know that I did my best, and I left them in the best situations that they can.
All right. Thank you. Pat.
I actually wrote this one down, unlike Lewis.
Actually, I wrote my answer down years ago.
Much love, much love. Um, I want to be remembered as someone who's resilient, who's extremely empathetic, one who inspires people to achieve their goals, one who believes that people can do any and everything you put your mind to. But lastly, one who loves people, all sorts of people, specifically my family and friends.
It's a big ass headstone.
You gotta get her the whole, the house joint. You gotta get her the whole thing.
You want a mausoleum to yourself.
Guys, let me change the question. Last
You're
night,
not getting that headstone. I'm telling you now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
last night it was about eulogy. Today it's about headstones. I didn't want to change.
Make sure you purchase your own headstone.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's not happening. That was not happening.
Lewis and I kind of have a spot together. I'll just take over his headstones.
Oh, yeah, because I'm getting burned up. Right. I'm going to be the red oak over your 2-paragraph monologue on concrete. Yeah.
Well, for me, I was thinking about the question as you guys were answering, and the only thing that comes to my mind is there's a basketball player that I love a great deal, and he no longer plays, but he always using this phrase when a basketball player does a move that is just crazy. He say, "Mama, there goes that man." You know who I'm referring to.
Mark Jackson.
Yes, Mark Jackson. There goes that man. I just want to remember as the man who did it 100%. I feel that my life has been an open book. Who's sending me text while I'm doing a program? Of course, Patty.
There's your own thing going on here.
What did I send?
You're on the program right here. You can talk to me.
I don't know, but what did I send? Maybe I sent something by mistake. What did I send?
So anyway, I want people to remember me as being transparent. Um, there's a song by Frank Sinatra. I only like one phrase in that song, and the phrase is "He did it his way." From the moment I left the seminary, I've been doing things my own way, completely different than everything that I was taught in school, which is crazy. But I find myself in a place where I'm comfortable, in a place that I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with what I've created. I'm happy with what God has done with my life, with my family. On my tombstone, really all I wanted to say is, Mama, there goes that man. That's it. That's it. That's all I want to say. All right. So as we close the program for today, I want to remind you next week, if there was ever a show that you don't want to miss, it's going to be next week. In fact, I'm going to play something to you. It's entitled No Ordinary Love. And that's for next week at 12 o'clock. So you don't want to miss this episode. I want to take a moment to say thank you to all my crew, the Remedy crew, and a special thank you to Louis for joining us today. Well, today the topic was death. Death. As painful as it was for us to talk about it, but it was also a wonderful conversation. And what we are hoping is that you will take that, you also will take that conversation into your own family, that you will begin to have that conversation to plan out what would happen? What happened if someone from your family passed away? How do you guys feel about death? Have that conversation with your mom, your dad, your children. Help them to understand and make plans, whether it's from the legal planning, the burial planning. Make plans with your family so that when the time comes for you to say your final goodbyes, everything can be done well. Everybody can live with a happy heart, even though someone just passed away. I want to thank you so much for allowing us to visit you at your home today. Jesus, in Jesus' name we pray right now, Father God, we just ask that you will come and bless this program, that it will go to all the different homes on Facebook and on YouTube, that those who are able to watch this program, Lord, will begin to have their own conversation with their family, preparing their final days. We love you. We thank you. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be able to talk in such a matter. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much, family. I love you all, and I'll see you again next week. God bless you all.